Hey, everybody. This is Jared with Hunt Nashville. Hope you guys have had a good week so far. Ours has been really good. I actually got out in the woods and turkey hunted this week, finally. 5 days after season opened, I was actually able to get out into the woods on a Wednesday morning out on some public land and actually get on some birds. Had kind of patterned these birds that morning. Didn't get right up on them, but set up within 150 yards or so, but couldn't convince them to come to me. They are really henned up right now, unfortunately. And so, at least in the area we're hunting. And so I just could not call them in, but there were 6 different toms hanging out in this one little area. So I kind of retreated back, went on to work, and called my buddy Jacob Calaway and said, "Hey, dude, I've got these birds. I think I know what they're doing. You want to go Saturday morning out here and see if we can get in front of them and get a beat on one or two?" So we went out this last Saturday, second Saturday of the season, and I went to go set up in front of them where I thought they were going. We got all set up, put a couple decoys out, made a little makeshift blind because we were kind of out in the open of these woods. And about 10 minutes later, we heard turkeys tree yelping maybe 60 yards away. We had not only set up close to them, we had set up too close to them. And we were within viewing distance of these birds in the hardwoods. I could see 2 roosted as they started waking up and tree yelping. So there were like 10 hens roosted, and we were set up on the edge of this creek. 5 of them flew down on our side, and 5 flew down on the other side. And the one tom that was with them decided to fly down on the other side. We worked him for a little while, never got a shot, tried to sneak up to him, couldn't get a clear shot at him, so we just backed off, trying not to spook him too bad because I want to go kill him this week. I'm going to try to do some midweek, midday hunts, and actually try to get in front of that bird and put him out of my misery because that's the second time the birds in that area have given me the slip, and I don't want it to happen again. So our week's been going good. Kevin shot a bird this morning with his bow. I don't think they ended up finding it. Maybe they did. Have to stay tuned. I'm not sure if they did or not. Last time I talked to him or saw that they were still looking for it. But shot one with his bow, but those birds were henned up as well. So just in the middle Tennessee area, birds are really henned up. Later in the day, I'm sure you can get them as they're breaking up and some of the hens are going off the nest. I bet you'd be able to get in front of some. But right now, first thing in the morning, man, if you're not within 75 yards of them and kind of where they want to go anyways, it's hard to get them to come in. They've just got their own little harem of hens, and they don't want anything to do with you other than gobble at you and give you hope that they're actually going to give you a shot. So, season's going good so far. We still got a lot of season left, but I'm ready to get on the board and start working my way towards the limit. I uploaded a couple of vlogs this week of my hunts. I'm going to try and do a little short vlog of every hunt, just like what's going on. I'm filming it on my phone. It's very simple. But it's been fun to do, and maybe that'll help you guys kind of see what's going on in this area. That way, when you're planning your next hunt, you can get an idea of what the birds are doing. That way, you don't have to go find out the hard way. You can say, well, let's see what Jared did 2 days ago, and I bet the birds are still doing that. So check those out. We've been uploading a lot of like little short turkey tips, some that we filmed last year, just never got a chance to upload, and some new ones. We're trying to get all those up during turkey season for all you guys that are new to turkey hunting or still learning. We try to put some of the basics up, and if nothing else, it helps us remember some of the basics as well, because when you've been doing it as long as we have, you have a hard time of keeping up. So go check that out on YouTube, youtube.com/Double Trouble Hunting, or just search Double Trouble Hunting. You should be able to find us. And then go check out our Instagram as well. We post new pictures pretty much every day. A lot of pictures I take. I carry a DSLR camera with me all turkey season. And so if I see a turkey on the side of the road, I'm that dude that pops a UE, pulls over, and gets out taking pictures. And so I post those on our Instagram, as well as just cool stuff we find, pictures of our hunts, pictures of buddies that have killed birds. And it's just a good way for us to keep up with what's going on in the turkey woods this time of year as well. I know I'm dating this podcast a little bit, but it is springtime, and we're trying to figure out what the birds are doing just like everybody else. So, you guys post, tag us in pictures and post what the turkeys are doing in your area. It really does help us, so I appreciate you guys doing it. Keep doing it. This week, the podcast is super hunting heavy. Just a heads up. There's no music this week. Our guest is musical related. It's Jacob Calaway, our good buddy who we hunt with a ton. He's a super nice guy, really good dude. he is married to Clara Calaway / Clara Henningsen of the band The Henningsens. She's a songwriter as well, and Kevin plays for the Henningsens, plays drums for them. That's how we got hooked up with Jacob a couple years ago, and we've just become really good friends, and they're good people and great hunting buddy. And he and I were driving out to the turkey woods this last Saturday morning, going to our hunt, and just decided to record a little short podcast, just talking turkey, talking hunting, talking the political climate of the outdoors right now. A lot of stuff going on with that. Unfortunately, the podcast got cut short due to some technical issues. We recorded half on the way there and then stopped it, and half on the way back. And the half on the way back just was unusable because we were driving down these back roads, and it was pretty hard to listen to. And I hate that because it was actually some good stuff we talked about. But Jacob will be on here plenty more times because he is a wealth of information when it comes to deer and turkey hunting, as well as a little bit of fishing because he grew up in Florida. So without further ado, here we go. I don't know either. It's supposed to be sunny but cold, and in my experience, when it's chilly down like in the low 40s and below, they don't gobble a ton.
Right, but they'll still come, or they'll still not necessarily respond.
Exactly. Well, and that's my fear, because I should be dubbed the impatient turkey hunter. Like, if a turkey's not gobbling, I get super impatient, and I'll get up and leave in a heartbeat.
Oh, sure.
And I've been trying to get better over the last few years, so I have to almost force myself. I have a rule. From the last time I make a turkey sound, I have to wait at least 20 minutes.
That makes sense.
I'll usually try to wait longer than that, but I have to wait 20 minutes because I've been busted so many times by turkeys that I've been calling to. They're gobbling, and they shut up, and I'm like, oh, he's gone. But no, he's just coming in and not gobbling. I mean, he's literally just like strutting and running to you.
Right. And I've had him do the same with it, like not even hearing a gobble. You just sit there and call and not hear anything, and turn around, oh, there he is. And not even realize there was a turkey there.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't know. It's just like, with turkey hunting, you learn through trial and error, but sometimes I just don't feel like I learn. I feel like I make the same mistakes over and over because you get so caught up in the moment. It's like when you get one to shot gobble. I was watching a thing last night that was really good. It was a video that Mossberg had done about literally like gobble panic. Like, you walk through the woods and you're going every couple hundred yards an owl hooting, trying to get something to set off or yelping or whatever. One gobbles, and all of a sudden you're like, I gotta set up right now.
That's a freak out.
And where in reality, every time you do that and you actually kill a bird, it takes them 20 minutes to get to you. Like, you've got a few minutes to think about it.
Right.
So one thing that guy was talking about, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was really smart. He said the first thing I do when I hear a turkey gobble and I'm going to set up on it, and I'm where I'm going to set up, he said I turn around and look behind me. He said it's the first thing I do. I want to see what he's going to see. And I'm like, that's genius.
I would have never thought of
that. I would have never thought of that. Like, I look around and like, oh, this tree's good, or there's a little bit of shade here. But he said, I literally just turn around and look behind me. And I'm like, that's smart, because you got to think from that turkey's perspective. What is he going to be looking at as he comes in? Because I've been busted so many times by turkeys I've set up on, called to. They've been responsive, but they get to that like 60, 70 yards, and they see something they don't like because their eyesight's so stinking good. And so I was like, well, I'm going to have to try that tactic out. I'm stealing that.
Sure.
I've been like picking up stuff from these YouTube videos are amazing sometimes. I've been picking up stuff from Cuz Strickland from Mossy Oak started a YouTube channel, I guess a year or two ago, and started uploading, like, he uploads like vlogs like from his hunting trips. So a lot of them are not the full hunts, but they're like vlogs of behind the scenes of them filming their shows.
Gotcha, like stuff that didn't make it on the show.
Exactly. And but some of his stuff is tips and stuff, and like he does a lot. He's big into turkey hunting. A lot of those Mossy Oak guys are. So his he said, I just carry a tube call around with me anymore as far as like locating birds. He said, because after daylight, an owl hoot and a crow call work and you can use them. He just said, but for me, he said, I hit a tube, like 2 cuts and a quick yelp will just about get a bird to gobble. The only downfall of that is you've alerted that turkey that there's a hen in the area. So now all of a sudden, if that turkey
did gobble, there's a chance he's coming. Then you got to get ready, set up. But again, you usually got more than enough time.
Gotcha. I've got a, I don't remember who makes it, but it's a woodpecker call.
Okay, yeah, I've hunted with guys that use those before.
It is the loudest stinking thing I have ever. My son, my 2-year-old son, last night got it out of the kitchen,
right,
and was blowing on it in the kitchen. I thought I was gonna die. I mean, it was. It's the shot gobble thing. You know, but I mean, it is insanely loud.
Yeah, there's a guy I used to hunt with that intentionally slammed his door when we got to the spot. He'd make you get out. He'd make you close your. Or no, he'd say, "Get out and close your door real easy." And I'd close my door real easy. And he'd go wham, and probably every other time you'd hear. And it worked. I mean, I had
hot, they don't care.
I had one go off at a semi horn one time.
No kidding.
Just it's amazing what they'll go off to.
Yeah.
I was out here on Wednesday, and a train came by, and I was just sitting waiting. I was like, come on. And nothing gobbled at it, but I was like, that kind of stuff works. You just have to be aware.
A couple of years ago, it was opening morning. The first bird I killed in Tennessee was because of thunder.
Oh, really? I've had them gobble at that too.
Public land. I was late, so there was an afternoon thunderstorm came in, and thunder would crack, and they would just sound off.
Oh, wow!
And I knew, okay, there's one there, and there, and I ended up. They wouldn't come because they were all henned up, but I ended up calling in a Jake. It was my first bird.
I'll shoot a Jake this morning if it comes in. Trust me.
Sure.
I am not picky. I'm like some hunters' worst nightmare when it comes to deer and turkeys, because I have. Unless the landowner says, don't shoot anything smaller than an 8, or whatever the thing is, or don't shoot a Jake. I'm totally fine with that. But I will almost always ask, if I'm hunting private, is it okay for me to shoot a Jake, or can I shoot any kind of deer? Right. Like, I'll pass like a button buck, obviously. Yeah. But like a spike, I don't know. I'm a 100% meat hunter.
Gotcha.
So I am indiscriminate when it comes to deer. I'm like the most politically correct deer hunter you'll ever meet, because I don't care, male, female,
if it's legal,
big horns, little horns. Yeah, exactly. If it doesn't have spots, it counts.
I always get kind of panicky whenever I see a deer, especially like postseason, or just gotta get meat in the freezer. And once you get maybe like, I usually try to kill a couple does during bow season.
Right.
That way, when the rut starts kicking in, I can kind of relax a little bit on old meat hunting and wait for a buck. But even then, I mean, you've got a deer at 20 yards broadside with a bow.
Oh, it's hard to turn it down.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, it's really hard to turn it down. Yeah, I found myself more and more, I don't know. I'm certainly not old by any stretch of the imagination, but the older that I get and the longer that I hunt, the less strict I become on myself. Whereas it seems like a lot of people, the more strict they become on themselves.
Right.
Which is, I think it's just a personality thing. Kevin being prime example, just because he's the person I hunt with the most, he gets more and more strict on himself as far as like whitetails, like what he'll shoot.
Right.
Like deer needs to be a little bit older, a little bit bigger, know. But I'm like, I seem to be liberating my rules on myself a little bit. I'm like, you know what, doe, it's a maiden doe. I can take her. She's big enough.
Well, especially as we get older, we have kids, we have families, we have limited hunting time.
Oh yeah.
And so when we do go, you want to make it worth it.
Yep.
So that's what this past year kind of found myself, and I took a out of state hunting trip. So
yeah, I know. Tell me about that, because I have not seen you since you got back from. Is it where did you go?
Alaska.
Alaska, that's right.
Yeah, we went to a little town called Galena, Alaska. It's on the Iditarod Trail.
Oh wow.
And we flew into Fairbanks, took a little puddle jumper to Galena, and then we loaded down this little boat. I swear, I thought we were going to sink it.
Oh, really? Just with all the gear and stuff?
It was.
Was this like a self-guided thing, or did you have a guide? Or semi-guided?
We went with a friend.
Okay.
It wasn't a guided thing, because he had to have like legal paperwork. So he was going to hunt anyways, so we just went and hunted with him.
That's awesome.
He was sustenance hunting. We were trophy hunting.
Okay.
So he could shoot any bull.
So he was a resident. He's a resident of Alaska.
Alaska resident.
Okay.
And then we were trophy hunting, which this just sounds crazy coming from a whitetail hunter. It had to be at least 50 inches wide, or 4 brow tines on one side.
Which is not super. The 50 inches thing is not super easy to judge on a moose.
It's very difficult,
especially at 400 yards when you're like spotting them and trying to get on them.
Yep. And every video I saw basically said if that moose looks at you, between his eyes is 10 inches.
Oh wow!
So if you double that,
oh my gosh,
double that on both sides, it's 50. But everybody says
it's a gigantic animal.
Oh, dude.
It's like shooting a semi-truck.
Massive. And so we literally had moose in front of us every day.
That's awesome.
And I mean,
nothing big enough.
No, there was one afternoon we snuck into this area. We had 10 cow moose in front of us. One was at 10 yards. I've got it on video.
Oh wow.
I mean, they were calling. There was this big.
So they were in rut.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And so, but in every like 2 would come out, and then they'd get spooked and look in the woods, and we thought, okay, here he comes. Another cow would come out, and then they would mingle around, and they'd get spooked, and we thought, okay, here he comes. There's another cow. I mean, it did literally 5 times. It did that.
Wow.
I personally saw 2 small bulls. Basically, would be like a spike in deer world.
Right.
The Dale Ledbetter, the guy I was hunting with, had a mid 40-inch 3 brow tine bull.
Oh my god!
At 45 yards for a half an hour, raking trees, busting brush, just going off, and he could shoot it.
Wow.
Had our buddy that we were hunting with been in his spot,
oh, he
it would
shot
have been a chip shot.
So yeah, because that's the way I understood it too. So if you're a resident hunter, you can shoot anything.
Yes.
As any bull. Can you ever shoot cows there?
Certain areas, yes.
Because I don't think I've ever seen a cow moose. I've seen a lot of cow elk be shot as far as like pictures and stuff, but I don't think I've ever seen a picture of a cow moose shot.
At least the area we were in, they would have their moose season, and then they would analyze the numbers, the biologists would, and then decide, okay, we can take more, we shouldn't take that many, and so then they decide it's more of a local thing,
right,
and it's an area thing,
right. Well, it's a cultural thing too, as far as like you talk about the sustenance hunting. Like here we talk about meat hunting or sustenance hunting or anything like that, and it's while you can tailor your lifestyle to needing that or requiring a complete diet of wild game, it's a selective thing here.
Right.
Whereas up there, it can be selective, but it's much easier to go kill a moose, and that meat lasts you for 6 months if you got a big family.
Yeah.
I mean, because that meat, how many pounds of venison do you get off of a moose? It's got to be something ridiculous.
Oh, it's in the hundreds. We didn't end up killing one, so I don't know, but it's definitely in the multiple hundreds of pounds.
Were you guys in grizzly country at all?
Up the Yukon River, there were, but the area we were in was more black bear.
I got you.
And they were.
Did you guys see any bears?
My buddy did, but there was a lot of sign when we first got there, and I think as we were hunting, we kind of spooked them a little bit.
Right.
But we had tags for them. If we saw one, we were going to shoot one.
So did you guys just set up base camp somewhere and hunt for the week, or did you guys spike camp further out?
We flew into Galena and then loaded up the boat and went. I don't even know. It was about a 45-minute boat ride.
Okay.
I guess it was up the Yukon River.
Right.
Put off, and we just tent camped.
Just federal land?
It was.
Private.
There was state or federal land. There's 2 different.
Okay.
I don't remember how it was, but I think it was state land.
Gotcha.
It was public land. Anyways.
Public land. So it's just like anybody can go do it sort of thing. That's awesome.
So we did it as money-wise as we possibly could.
So give me a round number, and if you don't want to, feel free. I'm just curious, how much does it cost, like, if you go on a 3-person hunt up there and you break it down, how much does it cost for one person to go up there with tags and all?
We,
roundabout.
Right, the tag was, you have to apply for it.
Oh, okay, so it's not an over-the-counter thing.
The unit we were in was a draw.
Is it a pretty liberal draw? Like, there's a good chance you'll get it if you don't have points? Or?
We got it on our 2nd year.
Oh, okay.
And we went as a party hunt. It was
right.
two
so you
of us.
Combine your like double your points.
So it was either we both get it or neither of us get it.
Right.
And so that 2nd year we got it. The once you get drawn, I think it was a $400 moose tag. You have to buy the tag, not refundable.
Right.
And then I think our flights were, I want to say $700.
Okay.
So that's $1,100, and then food, gas, so roughly $2,000, or just
really not too
just
bad.
less than
Right.
$2,000 for a do-it-yourself.
That's really not bad,
I mean,
especially for the experience.
And it helped. We knew a guy with a boat, so we didn't have to rent, charter, or anything like that.
Right.
But if you're gonna pay a guide up there, you're looking at $15,000 or more.
It's gonna be expensive.
And I understand the reason, because they have all the gear, they have the knowledge.
You can go in on horseback.
Exactly.
You don't haul anything.
And your chances are probably a lot better.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what they do. If they're not out with hunters, they are scouting for moose.
Right.
I mean, that's what they do.
On our flight out,
understandably so. I would want a bigger success rate if I paid that much money.
And on our flight out of Galena back to Fairbanks, back to civilization, we were on a flight with an outfitter.
Right.
And he was saying this was one of their best years. 29 of 30 of their clients got moose.
Holy crap.
And he said the only reason the first guy didn't was because he wanted to come early and bow hunt, and it was too early.
Oh, yeah.
So
you're finding quiet moose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mosquitoes were ridiculous.
Yeah,
Weather was hot. So he didn't harvest, but that was kind of his fault.
Right. He chose a difficult time to come.
Right. But dude, I mean, it was the funnest trip. I mean, we saw the Aurora Borealis.
Wow.
There were wolves in our area, which we had wolf tags too, but we didn't get one.
Right.
I mean, just camping on the Yukon River, it was awesome.
Oh, that's amazing. Did you guys do any fishing or fly fishing?
We started to one afternoon. There was a lot of northern pike in the little tributaries or little creeks.
Right.
But we were just focused on moose.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I can't say I fished there, but the buddy I went with, he does a lot of mission trips in Central Alaska.
Okay.
And so he's caught salmon, he's caught the pike. He wasn't as wanting to fish as I was.
He wasn't gung-ho about it.
But still, I wanted to shoot moose. So that's really, we focused really hard for, I think, 5-6 days.
Wow.
Just going after them.
How far out did you guys venture from camp, generally?
We were kind of on a massive island.
Okay.
And so that was kind of our main area we hunted.
Right.
2 days we got in a canoe and motored up to another little area that was probably 4 or 5 miles from our camp.
Right.
But we went up river, so in case something were to happen, we could float back down and paddle.
Oh, I gotcha.
Back to the camp.
Right.
So it was, but every morning we would at least walk a couple miles. Just like it seems like we would go further and further every day,
right?
Trying to find where they were.
Yeah, that's generally those hunts. From what I understand, don't come easy. You have to work for them.
Oh no!
It's not one of those things where you get dropped off, you shoot a moose, and you get back in the ATV and go back to camp.
Right. Well, which that happens.
Right.
But generally,
those are a little bit more expensive hunts.
Exactly.
To guarantee that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I want to do some hunting like that eventually. I've never even hunted out west at all. I've hunted in 4 states, and I've only hunted 4 species in those 4 states.
Gotcha.
Which is whitetails, turkeys, doves, and quail.
Gotcha.
I mean, I've rabbit hunted a little bit, squirrel, but I don't really count that.
Right.
But I've done a decent amount of quail hunting, which I love. And eventually I'd love to get a bird dog, but just in Tennessee, at least in Middle Tennessee, the TWRA is working on kind of restoring quail habitat and that kind of thing. And they have some programs to, help landowners with the cost of restoring quail habitat. But there's just not a lot of bobwhite quail around here.
There's not a lot of bird hunt in general. I mean, there's some duck, there's some pheasant, kind of more West Tennessee.
And you get some duck here, but I mean, really the further west and closer to the flyway you get. And even our dove hunts here, they're not awful by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not gangbuster either. It's not like when you go down to Texas and, there's some areas where, I mean, it's almost like hunting in Argentina or Mexico. You can just go to town all day until your barrel melts,
Right.
And so, but, on the flip side, the whitetail and turkey hunting here is insane.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's a subject that we often talk about on this podcast and when we talk to other hunters is like, we take for granted how good it is here. I mean, how really just amazing It is here, and a lot of that's thanks to the work of people, the conservation agencies, and the NWTF and those kind of people that spent a lot of time restoring, turkeys and whitetails here. I mean, to a point where, turkeys were gone. I mean, I think they estimated they got down to numbers of like 30,000 in the United States. And now I think there's like something like 200 or 300 million. It's something insane.
Well, just driving down roads here,
yeah,
you know how many turkeys there are.
I mean, it's ridiculous as of how many birds are here. And the whitetail didn't get dwindled down as far, but with all the market hunting in the late 1800s, I mean, they wiped the whitetails out of most of their range, and now look at where there's deer in Central Park,
Exactly.
So, the restoration of those kind of things is amazing, and, in this country in general, we take it for granted, but, just speaking from someone in this state, it's like, every once in a while, I try to think, it's like, we're heading out to the WMA right now that will remain nameless, because I don't want anybody jumping all over where we hunt,
right.
But it's open to hunt for anyone in the state, and it's... I won't even say how. If I say the size, it's thousands and it's tens of thousands of acres.
Right.
It's gigantic. We've been in it for about 10 minutes now.
Wow.
And we're not even close.
That.
Yeah, we're in it, and we're not even close to where we're gonna hunt.
Cool.
And so it's just, and it's beautiful country. It's loaded with turkeys. The deer hunting at this particular public land is not awesome. I think they are here, and it's gotten better. I've started jumping deer over the last couple of years turkey hunting, way more than I did about 10 years ago. I think they got hit with was it EHD or CWD? They got hit with one of it wasn't CWD. There was one that they got hit with here, and they think that's what caused a lot of the deer to die off. But it wasn't the real bad one. It's one that just affected the deer locally. But anyways, but the turkey hunting out here is ridiculous, and it's just like, where else can you go in this world? What other country can you go and just like, you own 640 million acres of federally owned land, and then, another however many acres of state-owned land that you could just go and hunt. Like, as a taxpayer, you own it.
Right.
It's a system that I'm glad that old Roosevelt put in place, old Teddy put in place a long time ago. That way we're all able to enjoy it. People just don't, I don't think people really utilize it as much as they could. Of course in Tennessee, we have some federal land here, but there's not a lot.
It's mostly state, right?
It's mostly state land here. There's a little bit of federal as far as like a huntable federal land, but most of it's state. But you got to think out west. There's tracts of, 1 million acres.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Can you imagine just being able to go out and like literally start walking and hunt until you can't hunt anymore?
Yeah. Well, I've gone to Colorado twice now.
Oh, that's awesome.
And elk hunting.
Right.
And one time I was successful. The other time we were bow hunting, so that's a little harder.
Right. Yeah.
Again, self-guided public land.
Right.
And just, you can look at a map of where you're going. We were in Rio Grande National Forest.
Okay.
And looking at a map, you think that's a lot of land.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get out there on the top of one of those mountains and look out at the sheer expanse of basically what us as Americans own.
Right.
It's our land.
Absolutely.
That anybody can use it and utilize it. It is just amazing.
Yep. Yeah, it's amazing to be able to walk up on the hilltop, even here in Middle Tennessee, where, our mountains are not quite mountains; they're more foothills. But you can walk on a hilltop, look over 10 hilltops on some of this public land, and say, I can walk there if I want to, and nobody will stop me. I won't be doing anything illegal. I can go hunt. If there's a turkey or a deer on that ridge, I can go hunt it if I want to. And it's like, it's things like that when you really stop and think about it, like, especially for me, because, I know you got your, like, dream farm now down south of town, but, like, I live on a half an acre in the suburbs, and, like, houses are directly around me, and I love my neighbors, and I love some of the things about being close to people,
sure.
But I also, like, I long for that, like, that feeling of expanse, that feeling of almost adventure, of being like, you know what, today I'm gonna walk over there for no other reason than I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
And hunting is a good way to get there, because I'm not big on hiking or anything, but it's like, I don't know, I wish that we had a little bit of more of that Colorado here, to where you had those, like, millions of acres to just go to town on. But these tens of thousands of state land are certainly a nice side gift instead.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and I take advantage of them. I mean, out here, I've been turkey hunting this property for about 10 years, and I don't know. I love hunting private land.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I killed a bird out at your in-laws last year, and which is an awesome property.
We need to go back there.
Oh my gosh, it's loaded down. I think Kevin said Robert killed a bird out there.
Second morning of the season.
Yeah,
Sunday.
He's already killed 2 birds.
Yeah,
that's
Joker.
stupid.
Well,
he's just too good. That's the problem. It's not really fair. We need to handicap. We need to go in and cut all of his diaphragm calls because he's too good at it.
But then he doesn't even need a diaphragm. He can talk turkey just as good without one.
Really? Just like with his voice?
Yeah.
That's
the dude literally was the South Carolina state turkey and calling champ for 2 years.
You didn't ever get a chance to listen to the podcast that Kevin did with it, did you?
I saw it the other day and I went to listen to it, but had to do something.
I send you a link. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like this. They were driving to a Henningsen show somewhere, and they just did it in the truck talking, and they're like, Kevin's trying to get Robert to talk about, and here's the honest truth. I've never even met Robert. I've talked to him on the phone, but I've never met him in person.
He's the man.
I saw him at the NWTF convention this year, and I was like trying to get to him to go say hi because I recognized him because I've edited videos of him on our YouTube channel, but I've never met him, and so I went to go meet, and I was just too many people. I couldn't get to him, but yeah, I was editing the podcast. I was cracking up because Kevin's like trying to get Robert to talk about music and all of the stuff he's done, and all Robert wants to talk about is turkey hunting.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, look, there's birds out in that field. And he's like, oh, another thing you need to remember. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like, that's a dude after my own heart. Like, that's like we can talk about the professional stuff later. Let's talk about turkey hunting right now.
Yeah, and I'm funny with him because I only do the professional stuff with him.
Right.
You know, all the music, the shows, the gigs, the one-offs. Well, we can't connect to turkey hunt.
Right.
It's just
somebody's already parked there.
Oh yeah, here he is. But so one of these days we're gonna try to do it. I just want to go. I don't even care if I have a gun. I just want to learn and listen, and watch him, just because he's that good.
Yeah, that's I've learned the most. I mean, you learn an awful lot from turkeys themselves, and that's probably the best way to learn it. Just go out and listen to a hen yelp and cluck and cut up, and what a turkey gobbles at and what it doesn't. But a good secondary is going out with somebody that's been doing it for that long and had a lot of success.
Oh yeah,
it's because those guys, I try to tell people, like, whenever people ask us questions, like, we really know what we're talking about, even though we don't. I mean, Kevin and I have only been hunting, I think each of us been hunting maybe 16, 17 years. So we've been doing it for a while, but not as long as some people. And it's like, learn from other people's mistakes. Like, I know you want to go out and make your own mistakes, and you do learn a lot from that, but try your best to learn from everybody else's, because you'll cut a lot of that frustration out of the process of hunting starting out, and you'll probably get hooked on it a little better than if you go out and you just get burned for 3 deer seasons in a row because you want to go shoot a big buck. I've got buddies that they're like, oh, I don't want to shoot a doe, I want to shoot a big deer. Now they don't deer hunt as much because they got burned out on it. Like, oh man, I couldn't shoot a deer. Well, you set your goals way too high. You're like, I'm going to start bow hunting and I'm going to shoot 170-inch deer.
Oh, yeah.
Well, like, I've been bow hunting for almost 20 years. I've been bow hunting for a little over 15 years. I've never shot a deer that big.
Right.
But I did, my first deer was with a bow, but it was a doe, and it was the first doe I got a shot at. And from then on, I was hooked. It's like, start off with something. Somebody just drove through. Yep. Sorry, we're now into the public land. We're getting to the heart of it now. But
have you seen my trophy wall of all my mounts?
I saw. Yes, I did at one time, but you've probably added to it since then. You had 2 or 3 in the freezer then. I think that you had not put up.
My dad was a taxidermist growing up.
Right.
So he just does it now as a hobby, and so like
he did the coyote for me, which I love.
So anything I shoot, he like freaks out and wants to mount it. So I have to like restrain him. No, Dad, we're not mounting the squirrel. I mean, it's a big one, but we're not mounting it.
That would be awesome though.
So I've kind of got my progression of deer, like from the original first couple of small ones, and they kind of get bigger and bigger as they get more recent.
Wow.
And so and it's just the same way. I mean, this has been. I mean, I shot my first buck at 14.
Right.
And I don't even know, 34 now.
Right.
And so it's the 20-year progression of my hunting. And so you're exactly right. You can set your goals high,
right?
But it's gonna take you a while to work there,
right? Well, and hunting's something that the odds are stacked against you automatically. I mean, you're going into an animal's natural habitat where they live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and you're trying to sneak in close enough to get a shot, especially with bow hunting.
Right.
But, with turkey hunting as well, I mean, when you're trying to get in within 50 yards of an animal, you're setting yourself up for failure on the outset. But it's a natural thing. I mean, you're not going to get around it. It has to happen. So that's what I always tell people is like, set your goals not low, but set them realistically. Don't set something that you can't attain, because you won't keep hunting. I mean, you just won't. And it's like, when I take guys out, I can take you out and I will take you out as often as I can, but eventually you're going to have to take this on yourself. Like, if you want to have a sustainably sourced resource of protein, or if you want to get into the sport as far as just from an enjoyable aspect, and the meat is a great secondary, like, you're gonna have to get into this yourself, because I can take you as much as I want to, but until you're like so pumped up that you're wanting to go yourself, you're just not gonna be hooked on it.
Right.
And it's almost like we're wasting our time a little bit. But we're almost to our spot here. I think we're gonna pause here. When we come back in a minute, you guys are gonna get to hear the tall tale of how we shot these turkeys that we're about to go shoot right now.
That's right.
Because we are turkey slayers. I'm gonna cut this part out if it was shoot anything. All right, we'll catch y'all in a little bit.